Hey, everybody, this is Steven Sorrentino. Here we are with John Spano, the winner of Best Producer of a short film at the Washington, D.C. International Cinema Festival. Hi, John.
Hello, Stephen.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, and it's been so
Great.
great to get to know you, not only in the festival that we have, but also other festivals that you and I have had our films in.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about The Big Gun, which is a brilliant film.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't call it brilliant myself. I just see the flaws, of course, and all the things I'd like to shoot over. But yeah, it just began with an idea of, wanting to do my own short film and something that was fun and, not too deep, not the first time out. And I love old film noir movies and even the bad ones, which can often be kind of a self-parody. At this point, you watch them and it's like, oh my God, some of them are so bad.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's happened over time. I think at the time people probably thought a lot of those movies were really fantastic. And then there's the ones that are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's no middle ground. It's like you either have like The Postman Always Rings Twice and Double Indemnity and The Maltese Falcon, or you have, The Bride Wore Black, or something like that.
A little rough.
Yeah, yeah. So and that goes way back. And just the whole, it's they're just such a part of cinematic history, too. So I thought, okay, let's land there
Yeah.
and let's let's just have fun with that. Let's just do a
Yeah,
little.
and honestly, you did have fun with it, and that's why I liked it so much because you brought out the best of film noir, which was great. And what I noticed the most, especially in the beginning of the film, and I don't want to give anything away that you don't want to give away because I know it's probably still in festivals. If not, we'll give it away, but that's up to you. The shadows, you got the shadows right, man. Film noir was not about what it is. Sometimes it was the setting and the shadows, which were completely the movie. If you watch the shadows in some of those films, they're brilliant. Citizen Kane, that type of feel with the shadows. You did that beautifully as producer, and of course your acting was great. And you wrote the piece, right?
I wrote the piece as well. Yeah, I did a lot of things. It's like, how can I, if you, the more you kind of can do yourself, the more money you save, and it just
Welcome
kind of
to the
was,
world of independent films. We do the
yeah,
same thing. Who's the casting director? You.
yeah, yeah,
At one
exactly.
point, were you holding the light? Probably.
Yeah, yeah. Who picks all the sets, pieces and all of that? Yeah, went shopping for vintage radios and a fake Maltese Falcon, which is actually a pigeon. All of that. All these,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so that was fun, and it was a tremendous learning experience because oh gosh, just in terms of filmmaking, because I've never really taken a filmmaking class, but I can write a film script, or at least a short film script, and I write a lot of scenes for real art too. So, in my as being a playwright, so much of what I do is language driven.
Mhm.
So I wanted to bring that into the film as well.
Did. It was very wordy back and forth. The
Yeah,
editing, by the way, I don't know who did that, but the editing was dynamite.
oh, that was Katie, who also helped me with the lighting as well.
Right.
Um, she was the DP. She was also the editor.
So for the
So
people watching, this film is both in black and white and color and
right.
flip-flops on purpose because it's a kind of a dual story and there's lots of surprises
Yeah.
and flip-flops. The best I just kept writing on my notes flip-flop, which is great.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
you see is not what you think. And then again, So well
right.
done.
Yeah, and I wanted to, just so it wouldn't be totally black and white. I thought, well, my concern is always for the audience.
Right.
Like, well, is it going to be, are they going to get bored with this once they get that it's a parody and once they get that it's the noir? It's like,
Right.
and you have a short film, so there's only so much of a story you can develop. I just thought, like, well, I'll just totally just without reason or cause switch the dynamic and make it into the color world in a more modern sensibility.
Right. And it
Um,
really did. And you played the two eras, I mean, really. And also thank you for doing your research on the language. Let me tell you something. All, all that stuff. I love that.
yeah,
Listen, you see all that stuff. Say, we should go to that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
They spoke differently then.
I
Well
can
done.
never tell with you dames. What's up, what's down, what is, what ain't, and all.
And the New York accent was great, by the way. We're both
Yeah,
from New York, so.
yeah, yeah,
For those of you out there that don't, we're not brothers, even though we appear to be. We're both Italian. We both have the same barber. We're both filmmakers. We're both actors and writers. So we are twins in a way.
yep, yep.
And something that you did for me in the one of the film festivals, we were sitting together when they were picking the winners, and he said, "You're gonna win." Like he just leaned over, and I'm like, "What?" I thought maybe he had the inside thing, but he was right. And when I got up, I didn't want to take the award. I wanted to just go, "This guy's spooky." You know? So thank you for the kind words, and I did happen to win that particular one. Can't win them all, but thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Yeah, no, I have a bit of I wouldn't call it ESP, but I don't know. Sometimes you just tune into things and
I
as
get
an
it.
artist, I think we're sensitive and it's like we know stuff is sometimes it's going to happen. We just get a sense
Yeah,
of that.
that's probably why you're such a good actor, because your acting comes through as real, and then it just you telepath your feelings to the camera loves you. So whatever that is, I can feel what you're gonna do before you say it, and I think that's the sign of a good actor. So whatever you're doing, keep doing that.
I'm trying to make it better is what I'm trying to do. And I have a great coach and I never feel like I've learned enough,
Yeah.
in the acting game, I started really late, um,
How old were you when you started? Now that you're 26.
another time I was about 50, it was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow.
So mid 50s, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
and to build a career, to try to have a career in this industry when you start that late is pretty much impossible, because most guys my age would have, even if they weren't stars, they would have uh, 25 years of co-star credits. And so I don't
Right.
have that.
A track record, which you don't have.
Yeah, I don't have that.
So you'll
Yeah.
be the guy that does it without the track record. So that's the way I feel. You know what I mean? Think positively. I was working with young people yesterday. I'm directing Sweeney Todd in Charlottesville, Virginia. And one of the kids just said, I can't be the judge because he's got so much, I don't know anything and I can't do anything. And I'm like, listen to yourself, because you think like I'm not good yet, I'm whatever, but this is our journey. So, as a filmmaker, this is our journey. As a writer, this is our journey. So, yesterday, you're not as good as you are today. And then tomorrow. So, we're just growing, the two of us. I mean, I get better, I think, as I go along. And by 175 years old, I should be exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff. Your writing was great. So explain the story a little bit. I don't, you want to talk about the twist? Because I love the twists. Or
Oh,
just,
I am sort of like finishing up on the festival circuit, and I just this past week put it up on YouTube.
okay.
Because it's been like 2 years of my life now, and I feel like it's time to move on. And it's
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing. You gave birth. It's,
yeah,
walking and
otherwise it's just like one more festival, and then it's like on and on and on. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, I have to like clear my plate of all of that and just move on to.
What was the cool? Let's go to festivals for a second. What was the best in person festival? Now you might be picked to be in our festival, which is screens in Washington D.C. in May sometime. So that could be one too. But what was your favorite experience of any festival? Would you say?
Oh, recently, we had the Oneiros Film Festival, which is like right down the block from where I live at the
Oh, wow.
producers. So that was convenient. And I was able to invite people locally and people that live in my building. So there was a good size crowd there. But we had won, they do it every month. So it's not like it's an annual festival and I won all these awards, but they do it every month and we won seven, you
Wow.
know. But they have categories like best duo. Um, so I was like, well, I know we're gonna win that one. Um, and then they have like best noir,
Yeah.
the
Well,
category for noir. So
bravo.
all the other, writing, producing, acting, usual stuff. But so that's why that number was so high because they have categories a lot of festivals
Yeah.
don't
For
have.
me, being in Vegas, what's that? Sorry.
Noirs just happened to fit into that.
Yeah, yeah, and plus your peers or you're in the area get to see your stuff. For me, I was in Vegas for so many years, and I did the Las Vegas Film Festival, and I had two movies in it, and it was so nice that all of my friends, even some of my family, were able to see the movie there, and I think that was my favorite one because it was my old hometown. A lot of celebrities showed up. the ones that are still alive in Vegas. And it was just a special to me, even though it wasn't the best festival. It was like a old home day. So I
Yeah.
get that. So
Yeah.
tell me
It's
about the actress.
Amanda. I really only we auditioned, the director Blaze and I. We auditioned just like a handful of people.
Mhm.
Because just and I try to do that with my work anyway. Just cast from who I think might be right, who I know for a role.
Okay.
Uh, and she just fit the part really well. She was the right age for me.
Yeah.
There was another younger actress who was quite good, but I didn't want it to be another film where like some middle-aged guy has some 25-year-old femme fatale.
Right.
If for a bigger movie, she would have been like a great in the classic noir. She would have been the great secretary,
Right.
kind of bubbly,
Yeah.
um, one of those, kind of characters. But so Amanda was age appropriate. She kind of had her vocal
Mm.
range was right for the
Yeah.
role. Um, and she made strong choices for her audition. So we
That
like,
gets the part. Right.
yeah,
The people that are safe never get the part.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd rather somebody blow me away as a casting person myself. If they do something that's not written, that's not obvious, you just go, ooh,
yeah, yeah.
I like that.
Not on the page because so often we play the lines.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
yeah,
once
and
the
so
camera's rolling, whatever happens, happens
yeah,
with a good
yeah,
director.
yeah,
So she really played the two sides. Now, in this movie, the cameraman plays a role.
yeah.
And tell me why you decided to do that. I think that was brilliant.
I wanted, in addition to the black and white noir
Yeah.
and the color world, I wanted
Right.
there to be uh, so just another layer of modern day contemporary sensibility.
Yeah.
Because one thing that old noirs don't have is they don't ever do direct camera address, and they don't
Right.
have those moments. So I thought, well, that then takes it more into our time period,
Yeah.
you know,
Especially
and
when you say, "Are you all right?" And the camera gives you an
is
okay.
it not?
I
Yeah,
was, I was
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. To involve that, and then because then it has a meta quality, and it's like, okay, we're actually watching a movie.
Right, right, right. Right.
Which I like. It's like when you go to deconstructionist theater, you know, when it's done well,
Mhm.
sometimes it's a little hokey. It's like, okay, we get it, we get it.
Yeah.
But when it's done really inventively, um, it's just like, okay, we're watching a play, and I'm cool with that. We're
That
not,
was the icing on the cake for me, that, you
yeah,
know. And then at the end, well, I want to talk about the end because again, you have it on YouTube, and I don't want to talk about it because then it's going to be blatant. But you reference it a few times, and it's really sprinkled beautifully, sparingly. But
yeah, just a little bit here and there. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then names, dropping names like a Veronica Lake or, the did you ever see Mulholland Drive?
of course, you
So I
you,
made
you mentioned that in the
I
movie.
make, I make a reference to that, but that is for me, that's the
The,
David Lynch didn't really have a justification to go from that first world of Hollywood fantasy and how we think it's going. There's that turn of the cube
yeah,
in the middle of the movie, at the midpoint of the movie, and it suddenly just, without explanation, becomes this house of horrors, the Hollywood house of horrors for this poor woman.
yeah.
Came with all these big dreams, and it just all like, just all comes crashing down on her. And it's not, the movie we're left with is not the movie we started watching.
That's right. Which is more exciting to me. And you know how I like, I don't know if you've watched the one that we were in the festival together, but that
Yeah.
starts out one way and ends another way.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
that's the spice. I mean, that's what makes things interesting.
Yeah.
It's a roller
Totally.
coaster. We don't know
Totally.
what's going to happen next. Otherwise, it's the merry-go-round, and what good is that? You see the same shit over and over.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So like in Amends with the Father, which, I loved, the, yeah, it didn't, I didn't see him winding up in
wherever it was.
wherever it was.
Yeah.
Wherever, wherever it was. Yeah. So yeah, and in short films, yeah, I think we have that sort of leeway. We're not, asking an audience to invest in 2 hours of pure logic.
That's right.
We're asking them to maybe, there's an experimental level quality to a lot
You
of
got them for
these.
15 or 20 minutes. Give them a
Yeah,
ride.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the magic of movies. Well, why did that happen? Because it's a movie.
Because it's a movie.
Yeah.
That's why it happened.
In his head, was it a dream sequence? I don't know. Was it? You tell me. That's what I
Yeah.
love about short independence. Of you can have more fun than anything.
Yeah. And David Lynch, going back to him, he's one of the, few people that can make that work in a full length film.
Yeah.
I love his movies. There's a really like tedious, long-winded one called Inland Empire.
Mhm.
It came out after Mulholland Drive, and it can be hard to sit through, but it's just like this wild movie. And he captures on film, he truly captures what I feel like a dream
Yeah.
state is visually. Because most times when we see characters having dreams, we think it looks too real.
Right.
And then it's like, surprise, it was just a dream. And they wake up from their sleep and like, oh, it's just dreaming. But dreams, yeah, but dreams aren't like that.
Yeah.
Dreams aren't like life. It's like a complete distortion,
Right. And
of
that's okay. And the further
yeah,
you go with that, the better it is.
yeah. And
Include
David
the
Lynch does
colors and the suspension of disbelief, whatever.
that.
You could go anywhere with a dream. And that's why I love dream sequences because you just go, wait, what? Yep. It's a dream.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And
Tell me
then you
about
get,
go ahead, sorry.
I was
Continue.
gonna say, you can get then the psychological aspect, not just of a character, but I don't know if this makes sense, but like with something like Mulholland Drive or Inland Empire or these strange films that Twin Peaks, whatever, the film has its own psychology,
Right.
which is very hard to do. A lot of films, most films don't have that. They have a point of view, they have a theme, but for the film itself to almost be like have its own psychology, and it's just very intense. We will we will miss him.
Yeah, absolutely. He was amazing. I was watching yesterday something that reminded me of you, Sunset Boulevard, which
Oh
is one
yeah.
of my favorite movies of all time. Again, the shadows and whatever. And Norma Desmond in that is really, we don't know if when she goes off the deep end, we don't know what's real or whatever. And Billy Wilder did that beautifully. And he went with it, and he just went with it. And it's just, at the end, of course, there's that something that happens that you don't think is going to happen. And I love that. So that's what movies are for. It's supposed to take us into a place that we're not normally comfortable going to, a new place. And, there's no, today here, wherever I'm at, I know pretty much what's inside, but in a movie, we don't.
Yeah.
And that's the spice of life. I love that. And you did that with your film. You kept changing,
Thank you.
the big gun, you kept changing, and then something happens, and then it goes color, and then it didn't happen. Or,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Are you
did it. We
plays?
did
Are
it.
you
Where are
plays
we?
like that?
Yeah.
Do you like your stage plays? Are they like that?
No, no. I don't. I don't know the stage. I haven't. I don't know that I could figure out a way to really make those kinds of changes believable
Hmm.
for an audience.
Take
Or
acid. Oh, ask
or
the audience too. And most.
or if believable is the wrong word, just to I don't know. I've seen some strange plays, that's for sure.
Yeah, we both have, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Especially in
Uh,
New York, small
but I
theaters.
know my writing is more I would say more traditionally emotional or human.
Now, do you want me to put the link for this film on YouTube in the chat or in the post? Do you want people to see this, or do you want to
Oh
wait?
yeah, that's sure, sure.
Okay, so you'll see this, everybody, in the look down, and you'll see the link to the YouTube version. So it's 15 or 16 minutes of your life, and
Yeah.
it's really, really entertaining. It's really,
Want me
really.
to put it in the chat so you have it, or
I'll put it on when we edit it down and stuff.
okay,
It'll be there
great,
for
great.
people to click on. So tell me, the director, how was it working as a writer and producer, and the star actor? How was it working with another director, somebody outside of your own head? Is that good or bad?
Yeah, it was good. It was good for me because I had worked with Blaze a couple of times on demo reel clips
Mhm.
with Real Arc, a company I write for. And I got involved with them just as initially as a co-star when I started acting again. They just asked me to do these parts,
Yeah.
and I hope any co-star I did um, before the last 2 years is burned and lost forever because my performance is so bad in them. Fortunately, fortunately, as the co-star, you get very little screen time, so it's yeah. Um,
Just enough to suck.
just enough to suck, just enough to be like, oh God, don't ever hire that guy. But Blaze had directed a few of those, and I liked the way he worked and the way just very, very easygoing, fun, knew his business really, really well. And I thought, well, he would be, and I had worked with him and my DP slash editor, Katie, on a couple of uh, real clips there. So they were my favorites. So it's just like, that's the team uh, I want. Uh, I'm, I the only thing I like about directing, whether it's theater or film, is working with the actors.
Mm.
I don't like dealing with anything else. So I'm not the best director for that. Directors should have knowledge of lights, should have a knowledge of sound, should have a knowledge of, editing, set. Not that they're doing all those things, but they should have a knowledge of all those things to bring everything together, for the
Yeah,
for the
but an actor's director. So I have I work with another company in LA, and it's a production company. It's called Shipwreck Cinema. And I am the director, the staff director of the actors, but not the whole thing. So
yeah.
I come in and I work with,
Anyway,
which is fine with me, and I work
yeah,
with the actors, and then the director of the whole thing comes in and then shoots the scene. So I know lighting, whatever, but that's the way he wants it, and I kind
yeah,
of like it.
yeah. So you know what I mean?
I absolutely
Yeah,
do.
you
Because
get
then he'll say,
yeah,
well, the lighting is, I'm like, I don't care. The focus of the actor is you, and here's what you're thinking, and here's your subtext or whatever. And then I get to watch the whole thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
exciting.
yeah,
Doesn't cloud my brain with the lights or the sound and what if or what if. I'm just like, I'm going to give you their performance. It's up to you to catch it on film.
yeah,
So you're on, I like that.
yeah. Yeah, just something. I think, this by this age, I would know by now if I wanted to be a director.
Yeah.
I just do so many other things, the writing, and I still take dance class and dance, and the
You got a
acting.
full life, bro.
It's like I also want to, learn how to play the piano and paint and speak French.
You sound like an adult.
It's like I want to do all these things, but then there's what do I actually love doing, and where do I feel more
And as we get older, I think you and I are roughly the same age, a little bit different.
yeah,
We really need to edit the stuff that doesn't make us totally happy. And sometimes we're on that merry-go-round of, we have to do everything we have to do. And now it's time to just go, what, I'm going to peel that one and push that away.
yeah, yeah, and
And you
it's
get better at
free.
it.
It's free. Yeah, I don't know where that all comes from. Some childhood sense of never feeling that you're quite enough for whatever reasons. And it's the more we accomplish and the more that we do and the more things that we can inhabit, the more hats that we can wear, we feel like, well, then I'll be this happy, fulfilled person.
Yeah. I made that mistake thinking the big house or the nice car was going to be it.
Yeah,
It has
yeah,
nothing to do with it. Like
that's good. Yeah,
I live in a nice house, several nice houses, whatever. They're paid for, which is lovely. However, I would give anything to be in a little crappy room downstairs from a theater that I'm doing 2 shows a day for 6 days a week, even
yeah,
if there was no heat, just a heating blanket, and that
yeah,
would be fine with me. So it's the craft and the love of the art more than I've arrived, because you and I both know that from our generation, we've never, or our background, we never really arrive. We're
yeah,
always feeling like,
yeah, yeah. And at some point, you reach a sense where like, if I'm not content and fulfilled with who I am and what I've already done and what I've already learned, by this age, it might not ever happen. It still can. I'm not saying for anyone listening, saying, well, I'm
oh,
65 and I don't know who I am. I never will. So you might not, but I just feel like for me at this age, if I'm not clueless anymore,
yeah.
And for so long, there were so many decades up until maybe I was like, I don't know, maybe 40 even, which is old, for people kicking, so many people think they seem to have their self together at such a young age these days.
Yeah,
It could be a bunch of facade and a lot of fake
probably.
as well, you know. But it wasn't until I started, actually, I went to college really late in life after my dance career. So when I started getting a formal education at NYU and getting my writing degree, it was like this. That's
Wow.
where a sense of like an inner kind of power started coming from. Once I had that formal education starting, and once I was able to really to nurture and develop this part of myself that had always wanted to be a writer,
Right.
that's when the real change in my life started happening.
You
That
believe that we should reinvent ourselves as we go?
I don't know if that's even possible. I know it's a real key word that
Yeah.
people use to reinvent yourself. I'm what am I going to change into? Like a pumpkin, or like what is it? I don't know
Sure,
what that.
around Halloween is great.
I don't. I don't. I'm not sure what that means. I think it became as it's a term that came into the popular domain because I think Madonna really made that popular because she was always reinventing herself.
Right.
She was reinventing her career image.
Right.
Like now
But it's the
I'm
same stuff she was doing.
now say now I'm the cowgirl. Now I'm going to do a disco album.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
now I'm going to be spiritual for a
Right.
couple of
Like
years.
levitating around her Kabbalah thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kabbalah, whatever. To me, though, those are just externals. All of
Right.
those things are
Well,
externals.
let's pull it internal. Your dance career.
Yeah.
Talk about that briefly and how old you were.
Oh, another thing, I started late when I was about 18, but I worked my butt off for 5 years to become employable. And then,
And
and
where
then
did you work as a dancer?
I did a lot of musical theater, mostly in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
now could you be a dancer in European musical theater at this age?
in a character part, like I could do, there's a character, I can't remember the character's name, but in like Grand Hotel,
Hmm.
there's a character who has cancer and he bursts out into he does this last dance, which is
Right.
Charleston. Michael Jeter did that on Broadway.
Oh, who was one of my favorites. Bless his.
Yeah, he was fantastic, fantastic performer and actor. Like I could do that,
Yeah.
no problem,
But
no
I think
problem.
because, like in my film, you see me back in 1988 when I was
Yeah,
27, whatever.
yeah,
And I did have to reinvent myself because I was too fat and too older to break in as a pop star. So I did have to reinvent myself as an Elton John impersonator. And then again as a
uh,
recording artist, then as a comedian. So in that way, I had to, it's not the same stuff. And now as a filmmaker, writer, or whatever the hell it is I do these days, I think I'm continuing to evolve. So it might not be reinventing, but just evolve to
yeah.
the,
That's yeah. You accessed. I mean, to do Elton John, you accessed a part of yourself that is Elton John.
yeah. And if anybody wants to see Best Elton Tribute on Facebook, you can see my stuff, or on Instagram, Best Elton Tribute. And for 34 years, I am arguably still the best Elton John
Yeah,
impersonator on the planet when I feel like doing it. And
yeah.
8,000 seat venues. So if you
Yes, I
talk,
know you're playing these huge arenas. That's crazy.
I'm not even the guy,
I
you
was
know.
thinking about that. I was like, I couldn't do that in front of all those people. Oh
Oh, I
my
can't do it in front of my father, but I can do it in front of
in front
10,000.
of 10,000 strangers, right?
Yeah, that's the when I was a young, it's the interview is about John, but when I was a kid, I was in my first rock band like 16 or 15, back when 18 was the drinking age. And we were still underage, and all of my parents brought their friends to see my rock band. Embarrassing, they're grown-ups, you know. And we started playing Freebird, which is a slow song in the beginning, and my parents are out there dancing on the dance floor. I was mortified. And then it comes to the fast part. So they decided to do the 60s dance thing, and I split my throat right there. I mean, I appreciate them supporting me, but that was a nightmare. And everybody's looking at my parents trying to do this kind of bad
I don't
60s.
know who those people are.
So I'm just like other Italians.
Other time. They
I
were
think
Tony and Tina's wedding.
exactly, exactly.
Similar.
I think I started drinking that night. That was the first time I had a lot of drinks.
How to do it.
Yeah. So,
Oh
you know,
God.
I think, yeah, I think that word is overused, that terminology. So I'm going to say refocusing or
Maybe.
repurposing our talents.
It's a, I don't taking off some outer layers and, finding other parts of ourselves that
It's that. I
we
think,
didn't even know that we had to use. I mean, when you were 18, did you think you were going to be an Elton John
oh no, I didn't think
impersonator?
I'd ever direct or write a film. Or
Yeah,
filmmaking only happened a couple of years ago in my 60s.
yeah,
You know, I acted. I've been acting since, you know, whatever, 80s, early 80s. But to do a film and then say, okay, I'm going to write a movie. I'm going to direct it. I'm going to produce it. Are you crazy? And then write the music for it. Well, slit your wrists. But it's one of those things where you say, you know, I could do this or not. Let's find out. And independent films are the best way to find out because if you fail, okay, learning experience.
yeah. Oh boy, and I failed at so many things. I was thinking of this. I've been thinking of it the last couple of days. If I was doing a sort of trace of my steps of all the like bad theater experiences I had or was not qualified to do, going on as an understudy in Hair for Berger when I had no acting training, and just like I could do it vocally,
Right.
but I had no acting
Yeah.
training and it was awful. And uh oh God, so many times things I've done, bad acting experience, horrible classes, just humiliating feelings that this business, can often do when you bomb.
Yeah.
And there's no, even, the greatest, most talented people, the biggest stars have those periods where that movie sucked,
Oh yeah. Or you watch their old stuff on the Twilight Zone, the people that became icons, you just go, man, they weren't very good.
right when
And
they
something clicked later on, but it's
later.
still out there in the ether, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I guess that's, if everything were perfect, if there was no failure along the way, I don't know, what would I be learning or what
You'd
would I
be as
be
bad as you are on day two
on
because
day
you wouldn't
20?
get any better.
Wouldn't get better.
So, I
Yeah,
mean, I sucked at everything. My
yeah.
sax playing, my flute playing, I'm a musician. My songwriting was basic. Now I composed all the music for Detective Kiwi, which is one of my films, and it's an orchestral piece, which I use the Las Vegas Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
So could I do that back in 76 with my guitar? Hell no, I barely knew what I was talking about. But again, you peel the layers off, you figure shit out, and as you get better, you accumulate this bag, I call it a bag of tricks.
Yeah,
And now here you are at your age with all these tricks in your bag.
yeah,
Actor, you know, producer, writer, dancer, all this stuff, playwright, there's a lot. So if we didn't fail in the beginning, we'd never be good at anything.
yeah, yeah. And if I was too successful, too young, growing up in the 80s, you know what it was like. You
Yeah.
know what we were facing, what we were living through. I probably still have PTSD from that time period.
Yeah. I, I'm with you.
You know,
And you'd be dead. You would
I
have
would be
drank or
dead.
drugged or God bless, you know, whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I came, I don't know about you, but I came close enough to that without fame and money.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I had the fame and money with all those people, I would have been so confused.
Oh,
I
we'd
would,
be talking to his tombstone right now
oh,
because,
yeah.
yeah. And people say, aren't you feel resent the fact that you didn't get to be a pop star at 26? Thank God, because I wouldn't be here, because I would have done all kinds of stuff to ruin, because I had no money to ruin myself. So
We see it happening to people, still, you know,
all
like,
that money, what am I going to do? I know I'll ruin my life. You know, I
I'll
just,
ruin my life. I'll jump out a window. You know,
right.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like who was that guy? It was the One Direction guy, a couple months back.
Yeah. I forget his name, but yeah, he basically jumped out the window.
And I was never a fan of the group, and I didn't know his name, and it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
He was just a young person who hasn't had time to figure out who he is yet in his life, and got on the wrong track because he became too young, or
Yeah.
too famous, too young, too rich, too young, too many girls, too young,
Yeah.
and then it kind of like leveled out, you know.
Yeah. Well, look, when we were kids, Jimi Hendrix, the big three, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison, all died at 27
Yeah,
because like Morrison was at the end of his rope. He had already lived his whole life three times over and just had nothing else to do but just drug, drink, and
yeah,
die.
yeah,
At 27, he's just touching upon, but that business will eat you. Same thing with Janis Joplin, man.
yeah.
What was she capable? Where would she have been now, or let's say 10 years ago? She could have done great things, but we never got to see it because, the party was too important.
Yeah.
True
Yeah.
talent. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you're here.
Yeah. Me too. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Same with, Amy Winehouse was also 27.
That's right. I was
Yeah.
writing a treatment
Kurt Cobain.
show called 27. It was going to be, I was the devil, and I was going into everybody's life just before they turned 27 and became a mess, whether it's rock stars, whatever. And I was always the guy coming in, and then suddenly somebody wrote something very similar, and I just gave it up. But I was the devil that was going to come in and make sure that they did the overdose and was part of their life, each and every one of them. It was a good concept, but then it was too close to something else,
Sounds like a great Ryan Murphy series.
which I did one recently, which was fun.
Yeah.
The Aaron Hernandez thing, that was great. And Ryan Murphy, Duel, forget about it. Was it Duel? Yeah, Duel with Crawford and Betty Davis.
Feud.
Dude, excuse me.
Dude, yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh my
Brilliant.
God, yes. Oh my God, both of them.
Yeah,
Both of them. And I love Jessica Lange, of course. She's always so brilliant and
yeah.
everything. She
She,
really
she
captured
got
that.
that Crawford thing, where
Yeah,
Crawford really was telling you to die and she had that smile.
yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But Susan Sarandon actually surprised me because she didn't overplay anything. She didn't turn into any kind of Betty Davis
Caricature.
caricature. Yeah,
She was
yeah,
great.
terrific.
Subtle. Because she's
Yeah,
a great actress. She's been a great actress since Rocky Horror.
for sure. Which is having its 50th anniversary this year.
Don't remind me.
Oh my God. I know I used to go see that in Kent. Kent State had a movie theater there, and I grew up there. So we had our little contingent of
Saturday night in the village. Every Saturday night we go in, midnight show.
yeah, midnight show. And where was that in the village?
Don't remember. Honestly, it was that
Yeah,
and also on Long Island, the Hop Hog Theater, which was a piece of garbage. But that's the only thing that kept them going was Rocky Horror.
right, we were. When I moved to New York in 79, then fresh out of high school, the it was playing at the Gramercy Theater, which probably doesn't exist any. It probably
No.
hasn't been there for many decades by now. But I was on 23rd East
Oh,
23rd
that's
Park.
probably it. That's probably where I
Right.
saw it.
And the other film they showed there regularly was
Eraserhead.
no, could have maybe they did,
I
but
saw Eraserhead there too.
the race that the one I'm thinking of is Outrageous with Craig
Yeah.
Russell.
With the Charles Pierce.
Charles Pierce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Charles Pierce or Craig Russell? Was somebody or was it Charles Pierce? I can't remember. But he plays all those
See
famous.
those movies, guys. If you're out there, see those
Yeah,
films.
yeah, yeah.
And we
Fun.
can see La Cage too, the original, at one of the theaters in town. And Pink
Yeah.
Flamingos with Running, which was, again, these are obscure films that we
Classics.
grew
Yeah.
up with in our, society that you should see them, but you just go, holy mackerel. Yeah. What's his
Talk
name?
about low budget.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh,
That's
those were
Divine. And what's his name? Who's the director?
Waters, John Waters.
John Waters. Yeah. John
Yeah,
Waters is a Martian. He's from another planet. But
totally,
so
totally.
tell us about your next project before we wrap this up. What's next for John Spano?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I'm focusing more on acting now. Trying to get, representation, which in the city seems to be impossible for some
Yeah.
reason. Trying to, yeah, just, in addition to enjoying life and being a good house husband and
Yeah.
cooking and watching TV and spending time with someone that I love and have been with for 25 years.
Oh, you mean life? Oh, that.
Life, yeah, yeah.
Good for you.
But I'm not. I have ideas for short films. I haven't. uh written one yet. I have like three or four ideas.
I think
Uh,
you and I are on the same page with that. I have three in the works and the scripts have started, but they just can't seem to get finished.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, for me, it's more financial. Also,
Yeah.
I could just. It's not that I. I could come up with the resources to did like I did the big gun.
Yeah.
But it's like, do I want to put that much money? Do I want to put 15 or 20,000 or 25,000 into another film right now?
Well, there's also other ways of doing it where you really, like I'm going to try to make these three films I'm doing on the cheap,
Yeah.
super, super cheap. So I got people that are willing to, take this on as a passion project. Even I don't believe in passion projects. I believe if you have a passion for what you do, it is what it is. But I mean, to put something out for 5 grand if you can or less, it's worth it because you get your stuff out. But it
Yeah.
is hard. Men's of the Father cost me a fortune. By the
Yeah.
time I tried to fix it and fix it and fix it, because other
Yeah.
people dropped the ball, I'm like, it's almost done. I have to put more in.
And you
I
have the
never.
locations,
Yeah.
all of that. So that's where the money, a lot of the money goes.
Well, we need to figure that out. Plus, you and I want to work together on something, and
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
to do a play with you, do
Yeah.
two-man play.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. That would be fun. Just not at the chain. Whoops.
You had to drop that.
Boom.
Yeah,
Ping.
well, there are other places in the world. There's theaters everywhere.
Lots of places. Yeah.
So, do you have a website for just you?
Yeah. Just me.
Tell us what it is.
JONSPANO.com.
That's easy. John, JONSPANO.com.
Yeah.
Check out John. Also, check out, like we said, his film, The Big Gun, which won Best Producer and might be in our festival, which most likely will be this May if we find out what's going to happen, or June. So stay tuned. This guy's super talented. This guy's super talented. What am I doing? This guy. This guy's super talented. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you for being fun, brother.